So we're looking here at neutralisation reactions. So we need to understand what a neutralisation reaction is, and also just think about what we mean by pH and how we measure it. So the first thing I want you to do is just watch an animation that I found online. It is here on the Footprint Science website. So this is their animation, and you can see that if we press play here, we're adding some acid to an alkali. So the acid originally has a low pH, so if we add a universal indicator to it, the universal indicator is red. Originally, if I restart it, you can see the alkali turns the universal indicator purple. So we have an acid and an alkali, and as we add the acid to the alkali, the universal indicator turns green, which if you go back to thinking about the pH scale, means that we have a pH of 7. What we have done is made something that was an alkali into something that is neutral. We have neutralised it. So an acid plus an alkali has given us something that is neutral. What we've formed here, so we've started off with an acid and we add it to an alkali. The water is made, and that's effectively the liquid that we can see. But we also make a salt. Now the salt in this case is sodium sulfate, and the salt in this case is dissolved in the water. So an acid plus an alkali gives a salt plus water. Pause this now and write a sentence in your book to explain what a neutralisation reaction is. And if you could use the 6 keywords above, so pause now. Okay, so we've made a salt, and there are some rules about how we name those salts. If we have hydrochloric acid, we make a salt that is called a chloride. If we start off with sulfuric acid and react it with an alkali, we get a salt with a name ends with sulfate. And nitric acid gives us a nitrate. So what you could do now is to write this into your book. You can't see the top one, but it says nitric acid forms a nitrate, hydrochloric acid forms a chloride, and sulfuric acid forms a sulfate. What I do want you to do before the lesson is to copy out the equations below and to write the products next to them. So write these equations. If you need a clue, don't pause quite yet. Just hold on, otherwise pause now. See if you can do it without an extra clue. If you do need a clue, there are some options here to choose from. So again, pause now and write these into your book. So the final thing I want to talk about is what we actually mean in terms of the chemistry, why we get a neutralisation reaction, why what happens to the acid and the alkali. Now, an acid is essentially H plus ions floating around. So an acid has H plus ions, whereas an alkali is a solution of OH minus ions. So we have H plus ions and OH minus ions that are floating around in solution. So if we have H plus, our acid, and we add the H pluses to the OH minuses, so if we add our acid to our alkali and they come together, they join together, we have an H and then an OH joined together, HOH. So this is our reaction, our acid and our alkali. Here's our acid and our alkali come together, make HOH. Another name for HOH, if we collect all of those terms together, would be H2O. H2O is water, and you'll remember from what you did at Key Stage 3 that water is neutral, it has a pH of 7. So an acid plus an alkali makes a salt, but it also makes water. The salt dissolved in the water makes a neutral solution. We call this neutralisation.